Life Audio.
Today on Talk About That, John ponders whether anyone hate listens to the show and makes sermon illustrations out of old cartoons. Meanwhile, I tell you why the first cell phone call was used to troll a competitor and what I learned from Jim Carrey about being a comedian. Plus a conversation about human nature, humility, and why main character energy isn't the flex you think it is. Today's episode is not sponsored by Gatorade when you want some fruit punch, but also a pound of salt. But first, a word from our actual sponsor.
It's another week, Johnny. It's another episode of Talk About That. We're here, man.
We can't be stopped.
Many have tried.
Nobody
few have succeeded.
You think we have enemies?
You know what? I will say this. This stage of life, the biggest surprise. Well, there's a lot of surprises.
Sure.
But I am shocked that I have enemies.
Yeah.
I never had enemies as a young man.
Do you think the podcast itself has enemies?
I don't know. I don't know where all they're coming from.
It would explain a lot. You know?
Yeah.
If you're like, oh, that's what's going on.
The podcast is doing well, actually.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Because we have friends, John. Listen.
I wonder if we have any
frenemies. And the enemy of my enemies
is an enemy. I wonder if we have any friends who are really frenemies that they listen,
right?
But like to be a little bit like, these jerks.
Yeah.
I just can't believe they said it. And they kind of listen as a fan.
They hate watch.
Yeah.
They hate listen.
Do you do that to anything?
Probably. I don't love it about myself, but there's probably things I'm like, let's see what this guy's doing.
Yeah. I don't do that a lot. Occasionally, there's a guy we've referenced before who's like all about pastoral clickbait.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's his whole thing.
Right.
And I'm not saying he may have other things he wants, but that's his claim to fame. And he's like, he wants you to watch it and be mad.
Yeah.
And people are like, they get entertained by it. Like, I just think he's crazy, man. He's crazy. And I'm like, but every time we watch it, we just told him to do it again.
Yeah, you're feeding the beast.
Yeah. Guys, feed this beast, though. Johnny, if they wanted to feed the beast.
Go to feedthebeast.com. I don't know what that would take you.
Please don't do that. We don't know.
Go to talkaboutthatpodcast.com. 300 plus archived episodes.
350 plus.
350 plus archived episodes for you to enjoy or hate watch.
It's a long time for two
It'd be
friends.
a long time to invest in that kind of an enterprise where you're just like hate watching.
Yeah.
Watch because you like us.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you want to support the show with money, that helps us do things. You could click on the upper right-hand link. Get ad-free content that way.
What if we could take support in like more in-kind ways, like the olden days? Like, someone bakes us a pie.
You mean like olden? Like they just have a gold coin, ping, they just drop it on the counter?
No, not that olden. Did you know the olden days, they would cut coins and they would cut them. So instead of you didn't have change, you just cut the coin.
Well, that seems
If you watch The Curse of Oak Island, you find all kinds of like Roman cut coins because that's, you needed 3/4 of this value. I'll just cut a quarter out.
But now it's all sharp and...
Yeah. They made it work, Johnny.
Cut yourself on your
That's why the Roman Empire exists today. It continues.
Because of cut coins?
It just keeps going.
Do you think the Roman Empire still exists?
I don't. That was sarcasm.
Oh, I see. But, I don't know. Well, there'll be Visigoths, invaders, the Moors.
Oh.
All those people coming in.
Yes. The Germanic tribes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Visigoths. That's a
Those guys, cool
they
name.
sound like some bad dudes.
Yeah, like if you had that name, you were bound to conquer Europe.
We have we still have Goths, but it's not
the same.
It's just kids wearing black makeup.
They're super just emo about everything.
Yeah, they're just like nobody.
You'll never conquer England.
You're like,
way.
well, that's not. Stop moping and get a hold of yourself, Goths.
Get your pickaxe and do something.
Yeah,
like the Visigoths.
Be more like the Visigoths, not
right.
less like the actual.
Yeah, Visigoths sounds like someone made a television.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like,
out of people who shop at Hot Topic.
Like this is the TV for people who just want to watch really sort of dark and depressing shows. This week, Visigoth is available at Walmart for 50% off.
It's a streaming channel for goth people. Anyway, don't invade us, I guess is what we're getting at. Please don't.
No.
We'll invade ourselves.
I don't want the United States to be invaded.
Thank you, John. That's a really strong stance.
You guys heard it here first.
We do have people, though, that are like, I wish you would. You know, there's a weird, like, it's like a fantasy of a lot of people now to, like, you know, I wish somebody would, because I've been hoarding these guns for my whole life, hoping that we can get to a weird fantasy that I have. But
I own guns. I don't want to use them.
That's beautiful, John.
I don't want to use them.
How many guns do you?
I inherited some guns. I have some of my own.
Do you think they're too old to work properly?
Oh, there's some for sure.
Yeah.
There's
just
some
be
old.
Like dust comes out.
I found there was like, I looked it up. It was like a 1917 European.
You don't want that.
Little.
You got a musket loader?
It was not even a 380. It was it was like, wow, this is really old. I'd be terrified, but to fire it. But I had to anyway, Johnny.
Yeah.
Like Yosemite Sam. I just went down the road, just
firing into the air. You're the rootinest, tootinest, what have you. Yeah, that's great.
Do you think
John.
that the listeners know Yosemite Sam? You're like, yes, our listeners would.
It is interesting that, you know, we grew up in a household where we had limited television options because of our upbringing. Everything was evil and going to contribute to the delinquency of their children.
I think you had that more than I did. I had some of that.
But I thought it was interesting that, like, anything that had a hint of sorcery or whatever was definitely off limits.
Yeah.
But, like, Looney Tunes was okay. They're dropping anvils.
Right.
People are shooting each other in the face.
Uh-huh. But they were always okay.
Planting explosives for you to just happen upon.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, it just chars the bill of Daffy Duck, just a little bit. His bill is a little bit.
Yeah.
Well,
But that's what made it funny. No one was ever actually hurt. You know?
But did you think it, like, led to a generation of people who were, like,
dropping
planting bombs? Or
I don't think that's what led to it,
how many
Johnny.
anvil-related deaths do you think there have been because of cartoons?
I don't know, but I could still watch
Yeah.
The Roadrunner
Yeah.
and find it funny today.
There was something released in meme culture about, it was like somebody found, or maybe it was just somebody that extrapolated these rules, but the Roadrunner, the creator of the Roadrunner, Friz Freeling? I want to say his name is Friz Freeling. He had rules about the Roadrunner. Like, there was a code, and it was about, I need to look them up because I'm gonna butcher it. But there was rules about, like, the coyote. See if you can find it.
All right, I got this, guys.
See if I'm right about Friz Freeling.
Say
too.
what you think it is.
It was something about the coyote can never die, obviously. We knew that. But it was somebody that posted, like, the top 5 rules that when you write an episode of The Roadrunner, this is what has to be included in it, or you know, there's a code of the road, as it were.
Chad is thinking.
Is it?
Followed by Chuck Jones.
Chuck Jones, okay, so I don't know where I'm Friz Freeling. Friz Freeling was a different creator, a different cartoonist, I guess.
He later shared them as a set of internal creative guidelines. Number 1.
This is when he was being paid $20,000 an hour on the lecture circuit. I'll just tell you, everything I learned about life, I learned from the Roadrunner. And he's
Roadrunner's Guide to
paid all
Business
this
Success.
money. He paid all this money by corporate executives. They're writing it all down.
These are fascinating to me because it is a long time.
So I'm not wrong. This is the thing.
You're correct.
Okay.
It is, well, what it has said was.
Oh, boy.
They weren't officially published, later shared them as a set of internal creative guidelines that he and his team followed to maintain consistency, humor, and originality in the series. Because, think about it. I mean, from a comedy perspective, this guy did one thing over and over and over again in different ways. They rarely inserted another character.
Right.
Like, they just did this one thing well. Kind of like our podcast. It's a lot.
Which one of us do you think is the coyote and which one do you think is...
Oh, I'm definitely the Roadrunner.
Really?
I'll always get away.
And I'm
That's not
buying
true.
poorly made Acme products.
You drop comedic anvils on my head every week.
But you come back. You regenerate.
I always come back.
Every time.
Number 1, the Roadrunner cannot harm the coyote except by going beep beep. Okay?
Right.
You think about it, he never
That's
does
true.
anything to him.
He doesn't have an offensive move. He's
Which,
always
guys, isn't
playing
that
beep.
just like, I mean, some of y'all,
I thought it was meep meep.
it says beep beep.
Beep beep? Beep meep?
It just says beep beep.
Oh, beep beep.
But
He's not a robot.
I can't help it.
I thought it was meep meep.
Number 2, no outside force can harm the coyote. Only his own ineptitude or the failure of Acme products.
That was a good one.
Yes.
That was a good one. I thought, yeah, that is true. And you don't think about it until you get the rule revealed to you and you go, wow, that's true.
Yeah. He's his own worst enemy.
because he can't. His taste for his thirst for Roadrunner blood. He's gotten his own way.
I mean, it would have been like one bite. The Roadrunner was hardly. It was a very skinny.
Yeah, he's very
bird.
bony.
Yeah. Number 3, the coyote could stop anytime if he were not a fanatic. Something like, I mean, he's his own. He's pushed forward by his own fanaticism.
Won't that?
Come on, guys. There's no dialogue.
Think that's timely
ever, except beep beep.
Right.
Or in your case, meep beep or meep meep. The Roadrunner must stay on the road, otherwise he's not a Roadrunner. I thought he went to the desert sometimes and stuff.
Well, but he's...
Interesting. Was he always on the road?
Yeah, I guess he was.
What about when he came to a cliff?
But that was a cliff that was painted there by the coyote to look like a cliff,
he would just
but
go
it
right
wasn't.
on through it. That was so amazing.
The tunnel, the train.
Number 6. All action must be confined to the natural environment of the 2 characters, the Southwest American desert.
Yeah, so they could just put him in a city or something.
Right.
Hey, and now he's working in an office.
Yeah. Nope, that never happened. Number 7, all materials, tools, weapons, or mechanical conveniences must be obtained from Acme Corporation.
I wonder, that's the earliest partnership deal in the history of...
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Well, there's a little doubt. Number 8, whenever possible, make gravity the coyote's greatest enemy.
Yeah.
And that is funny. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Because he would like realize I'm in midair, I'm about to fall. He kind of looks at the camera.
Yeah. Or sometimes they could even make their way back to safety.
Yeah.
Because they realized it. And then wherever they think safety is actually not. And then the edge of the cliff falls or whatever. You know what I'm saying? I always like that where you think, oh, he survived. Oh.
He did not survive, John.
Well, he survived, but he didn't. Yeah. And then number 9, the coyote is always more humiliated than harmed by his failures. More humiliated than harmed. Guys, I'm telling you, I think
there's something to it.
We could live a lot of life by this. Come on, some of y'all have been feeling more humiliated, but if you're not harmed, you just keep going, man. Keep chasing your dreams.
I just want to say that Friz Freleng was an American animator. He was known for working on Looney Tunes cartoons and Merry Melodies. So Friz Freleng was a thing. He did Bugs Bunny, Porky Pig, Tweety, Sylvester, Yosemite Sam. So he was not Roadrunner, but
I thought that was.
But Friz Freleng was a.
He did the voice?
No, he was the animator.
Oh, okay. Because the voice was.
He would be
Mel
in the
Blanc.
credits. I just remember those names in the credits because you see them so much when you're a kid.
Yeah.
I was the kind of kid that like locked in all this stupid stuff. Like I would remember Sit, Ubu, Sit, Good Dog.
Yeah.
I would remember like all the weird. I don't know why, but those lock into my head more.
I know,
so.
It's like those things were a part of the.
Mm-hmm. It's like a part of the show. Yeah, I didn't want to miss that.
Yeah, they're very much they're cues.
Yeah,
right. They cue you that this has started, this has ended, and it's not the same.
I think it's why the Marvel movies are so fascinating. They know that you're going to sit through like 10,000 people worked on this movie because they're so complicated, but they know that we're trained not to sit through that anymore. So they go, we're going to have to put an extra scene in here.
Yeah.
To give these people the credit they deserve. We have to hide another like 10 minutes of the movie. Or at least 3 minutes of the movie. We got to hide it in there. Because otherwise, this guy who worked on this thing for 6 months, he's not going to get credit. You'll never know. But in the old days, it was just like, yeah, we're going to sit through because it said sit, ubu, sit, good dog. And we're like, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, you couldn't fast forward.
Right.
Right. You couldn't pause.
That's one thing Sadie will never know is going quickly to the bathroom and having to get back and jumping over the couch because you might miss something. Yeah. She'll never be in danger of missing something. No. I mean, she's in danger of missing her life because she's looking at her phone all the time. But what I'm saying is, like, her favorite shows are on demand, basically. Unless she goes to a live event. Like, y'all did the Taylor Swift thing where you waited in the rain and all that. That was kind of the closest thing. But that was every week with us, the Dukes of Hazzard. They're in midair. We don't know what's going to happen to the Duke boys. We got to get back.
Yeah. Interesting. Did they have back then, they did like... last time on the Dukes of Hazzard.
Oh, sure,
okay,
yeah.
Because could you remember everything?
And then you knew it was like, oh, it's a rerun. Because it's summertime, you're like, now they're in reruns.
Yeah.
But I missed it the first time, so I was glad for the reruns sometimes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's a weird time to be alive, John.
It is.
You know what else, John?
What's that? I have no idea where this is going.
We were talking about partnerships, and the earliest partnership would have been the Acme Corporation. We're not sponsored by Acme, but we do have our fine sponsors that we are so glad are here. And let's take a minute and hear a word from just a few of them, if we could.
I think you need to write a series of not sponsored buys that are Acme now. That'd be a great like exercise. Guys, if you don't, wherever you listen to your podcast, if you don't read the descriptions every time.
Well, they're in the audio version, though. They're in the
That's
pre-show.
true. We read it at the beginning.
We read it at the beginning,
Yeah. Johnny's not sponsored by. It's pretty legendary.
Not sponsored. I'm thinking about adding those to the live shows.
Yeah.
Like have a section of the show have a sponsor.
Because you have what?
Yeah.
You have 3.
Go get a drink of water and like roll a commercial. Sorry, guys. We have to do this.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I hate comics that sell out, but when they told me how much money, I took the money. And I have ads in the show.
I like it.
That could be fun.
Not sponsored by.
Yeah. I like a meta kind of show, but it's weird. Like, I don't know if all my fans would go with me because I feel like some of my comedy clips that have gone viral are like more broad and they're more whatever. But the things that make me laugh are very specific. And so it's like if you do a show that's only that stuff, you have a very specific audience.
Right.
But I like taking my audience by the hand and being like, hey, if you like that thing that I made you laugh and it's very broad, what about this weird thing that also makes me laugh? Would you laugh at this too? And then seeing if it'll work. Like, I like stuff like that.
You know what I like is the people who email us for the podcast. They almost always drop 2 or 3 of the inside things in it.
I just like the thing of like challenging, because that's what comedians like. We want to make people laugh, but we also want to challenge our audience because it's what makes us feel alive. It's like when Jim Carrey could have just gone and done Ace Ventura 10 times in a row, but he was like, I want to do The Cable Guy. It's this really dark thing.
Yeah.
And I want to get into drama. I eventually want to do The Truman Show.
Yeah.
I want to be Robin Williams, basically. I want to do the Robin Williams career arc of like, I want to see if I can do Dead Poets Society. But I have to do the weird, dark comedy first. And a lot of his audience were like, no. A resounding no.
Yeah.
And now that movie really has aged a lot better. Because it was actually a really brilliant piece of film. Because he was talking about the insidiousness of television. Growing up, this guy was addicted to television. So it's like, there's so much like prescient stuff there. But he kind of had to hold his audience's hand and be like, I'm not going to do the rubber face, zany Jim Carrey thing my whole career. I can't do it. I will die.
Right.
But he had to like tease his audience like, please go with me a little bit on this.
Where was Liar Liar in the middle of that?
It was near there. I think it was before. Cable Guy was like before, I think.
And
he's Ace Ventura 2, The Mask. Well, The Mask was actually filmed before Ace Ventura, but it was released after.
Really?
Then he's Ace Ventura 2. Batman he did, where he was the Riddler.
Yeah.
Liar Liar. And then somewhere along the line he did Cable Guy, which was Ben Stiller directed, I think. And it was one of those like, people were like, this isn't wacky. This is just kind of weird.
When did you do, what was the other one I was just thinking of?
Probably the best movie he ever did was Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. It's like, that's a really, like, he was fully in his dramatic arc.
Okay.
It's a really well done, like, it's got elements of time travel, but it's a drama, but it's also got some comedic elements.
Oh, Bruce
comedy.
Almighty.
Bruce Almighty's great, yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of the perfect blend, because it's a great script. He got to really kind of do some acting in it that was real. He had a good co-star, but he got to be silly too.
Yeah.
He had Morgan Freeman playing God. I mean, it was a great concept.
I really thought that movie when it came out was going to, and hear me, audience. But just the idea of it, I remember watching the trailer and being like, oh my gosh, this is the most sacrilegious thing ever. You know, but... And it is. It's not meant to be theology.
Right.
Right. I mean, I think we could be okay with that. Like, this is not meant to be. This is like someone created an alternate universe in which this thing happens. It's not like, don't take any real cues about who God is from it.
Yeah.
But I will say some of the parts of it that they revealed about, basically the point of it is actually you couldn't be God. Right. And you don't understand all that God is actually doing. There's a mystery to it, which I thought was, there's a lot of kind of just moments in it.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I love that isn't there a scene where he meets God and Morgan Freeman's like holding a mop?
Yeah.
Like he's basically mopping.
Oh, yeah. And almost all the scenes he's doing.
And he's so expecting some guy on a throne that's going to be like wielding, this arrogant, all-powerful being.
Right.
And instead it's just this guy that looks like the janitor.
Yeah.
And you just go.
Did you never see it?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm saying is I'm just trying to remember that scene specifically. I remember being struck by that scene.
Well, he's a homeless guy too.
Yeah.
At one point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very,
Not a sponsor, Brism.
No, I'm not saying again, guys, don't pattern your life after it or anything.
It's too late.
Too late.
It is way too late.
About that time, Johnny.
Oh, wow, okay.
It's my segment. We call it They Talked About That.
See if I can do it. Let's take one ear off, maybe. Help. Yeah, that's a tough one.
Yeah, a little pitchy dog. C.S. Lewis today. Johnny, it's always time.
Always time for C.S. Lewis. It's been a while since we had a little Clive Staples Lewis up in here.
He says, humility, after the first shock, is a cheerful virtue. It is the high-minded unbeliever desperately trying in the teeth of repeated disillusions to retain his, quote, faith in nature, faith in human nature, who is really sad. Let's read that again. Humility after the first shock is a cheerful virtue. It is the high-minded unbeliever desperately trying in the teeth of repeated disillusions to retain his faith in human nature, who is really sad.
It's interesting, and that kind of goes hand in hand with this idea of like God being the janitor and the homeless person. Like this idea of like what we expect, true humility to be, and
it's very this idea of how people make sense of the world and of difficulty. I mean, I think how much I preach now on trouble. Maybe my whole life I have, but somewhere in my mid-30s, I think I began to realize that really the thing people are coming to church disillusioned about is trouble, and that theology, however we came to it or through it or are coming to it, generally deals with our viewpoint of how God does trouble. I know my grandfather. My grandfather was a faith healing preacher, for his whole life. And when my dad died before him, he had a legitimate crisis of faith.
Sure.
I mean, it's so weird being the younger, 2 generations down, trying to comfort him with like, hey, Papa, just because Dad died doesn't mean that your faith wasn't enough.
Yeah.
Or because in his mind, and he had many other things about God he believed in his relationship with God. I'm saying on that front.
It's a formula.
Right. That this trouble, and he had seen actual healings in his life. Like he'd seen real miracles. And so the idea of what that means about God, like what do I standardize about God in my mind? What can I expect from God whenever you've seen God do something? And I think that even happened during Jesus' day because he fed the 5,000. And it's such an interesting part of the New Testament narrative. He feeds the 5,000, and now the people are just hounding him. They're following him everywhere he goes. And he turns to them and he says, eat my flesh and drink my blood. I mean, he's talking to the Pharisees before that too, but he basically starts saying really difficult things to them. And he's like, you're following me because you want bread.
Yeah.
You want me to do more of the thing I did. And I think that you can't blame them for some extent because how do they not know? Oh, that's what Jesus does.
Yeah.
Right? That repeating expectation of who God is or what I do, how God's going to interact with me when it comes to problems or trouble or difficulties. Can I count on God to stop problems, troubles, and difficulties? Maybe not all of them, but what kind can I count on? And that's when a real crisis of faith for me in the last couple of years is when things happen that I specifically prayed hard, repeatedly about, please don't let this happen. Not like I got old or something, like a thing that doesn't have to happen.
Yeah.
And when it does, I'm like, what was all that prayer about? Because how many times can I tell you have answered my prayer? And I don't understand. So I think C.S. Lewis is dealing with the people who were all grappling with whether or not we should put our faith in human nature, put our faith in no faith, meaning it's just there's no meaning, there's no point of praying, there's no point of asking, no point of trying to avoiding, just live your life because it's just going to happen as it is. Or those who become humble. And humility here is not just, I think, he's not referencing just a state of someone who appears to not be prideful, right?
Yeah.
True humility is saying, I recognize I'm not in charge.
Yeah.
I'm not going to figure it all out. That I serve someone who is so eternally good to me, yet there will be things he allows that I will not understand, that will feel horrible. And can I humble myself enough to go, and even, I don't like this even, the whole idea of all things work together for good. Someday you'll know, because that disaster was
right.
actually for your good. You just don't know how yet. I don't think that's good theology. I think that when all things work together for good, it's really talking about the end of this age. Mm-hmm. I think there are things that happen that are just tragic. The worst thing you can ever do is, and I've been to funerals of children, or I've been in, I went to a hospice one time for a kid who was about my kid's age at the time.
Yeah.
And I watched a dad laying up in the bed holding his daughter.
Yeah.
I mean, it wrecked me on another level. It was like watching myself.
Yeah.
And the worst thing I could have done is been like, now look, I don't know what God's plan is, but he's going to take care. I don't remember saying anything like that, except that, man, we love you. We're so sorry, and we're praying, and anything we can do. I mean, there's nothing else to give there that should be platitude based, because you really don't know. Humility says, I don't know, but I can say what's good and what's bad. I can say in fact, in some ways, the redemptive part of the gospel is accepting that the world is not as it should be. That's why I need a redeemer, and that's why I see this gospel story is larger than just what good or what bad happens to me or my family today. Now, that being said, I shouldn't minimize that, because it can destroy our lives, right? This world destroys us. And so it's just interesting for him to say, hey, I think I'd rather not just be repeatedly disillusioned and constantly trying to make I would say not just faith in human nature, but faith in healing or faith in whatever, even if it's related to religion. I think at some point to come to a place where you trust the sovereignty of God, or you trust that, God, I don't like this. I'm mad at you about this, yet I will still serve you. I don't know if I'm there all the time, but that's where I think I want to be. Jesus in the garden, take this from me, not my will, your will be done, is a tough thing to pray and a tough place to be. So, yeah.
You're definitely not there, and I wanted to talk about it.
Yeah.
You got a long way to go.
I think I do, Johnny.
Yeah. No, there is something about, like, humility to me is like knowing you're a part of a system. You're not the center of the system, Like isn't there a scripture where he talks about when you go into a room, don't sit at the head of the table, because the person who belongs at the head of the table might come in and see you at the head of the table. I think my tendency and where I go wrong a lot in my life is I'm sitting at the head of the table. And I'm not realizing it. I'm just like, well, I'm the charter of this, I'm the captain of this ship, right? And it's like, if you really believe that, you're already in the wrong seat.
Interesting. I want to write a book, maybe, or at least a chapter about modern main character energy. Yeah.
Well, that's a big one now, because you probably hear Sadie talk about it at school. Like, that's a big, you're a non-playable character. This guy's got main character energy.
And it's like, that's really our biggest problem, is we got main character energy.
Yeah.
It is tormenting, because we're not made to be main characters. I mean,
and main characters, they often do not work and play well with others. And we make heroes of those people. We talked about this at lunch today about, like, we watched a video from this contributor on Facebook that we both love. And he was saying one of the reasons we're kind of in this jam that we're in the last 20 years politically and just in the country is we love movies about vigilantes who the world is chaos, and so they got to make things right, but they can do it outside the rules. Mm-hmm. And we've made those guys heroes. And so, but in real life, that's super disruptive.
Right.
Like a billionaire just being like, I'll take the law into my own hands. Like, that's not great for society at large. It's great in a Batman movie.
Right.
But we're seeing it play out, and we're just kind of watching it like, why does part of me like romanticize this and part of me is terrified by it? Well,
because you're conditioned. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, every hero movie, every vigilante movie, every one of it. I mean, and it's not the same as an oppressed people group in the 1960s and a Martin Luther King speaking truth to power in a moment, peacefully with nothing to gain except liberty. Right?
But you're right. The main character energy thing is like such a funny, it's like we've made that a good thing, but we also have like destroyed the idea of like collectivism being a good thing. Like collectivism immediately gets lumped in with socialism.
Right.
Like being a part of a collective that supports each other feels like weakness to a lot of people now. Because you don't have main character energy. If you can't just white knuckle it and get through, what are you going to get? Help?
Right.
We only go to therapy to weaponize therapy talk now. That's really why we go. So we go like, who do I blame?
Right.
Who's responsible for this? So we can like point it outward. We don't go to get better, really.
No. And when I was able in therapy to come to the conclusion that you were to blame.
Right.
I mean, for all of it, I couldn't believe it. It went back to my childhood.
They were like, do you know Johnny?
I was like, I didn't even know Johnny back then. How did this work? It really did simplify things.
I'm so glad that we found it. We figured it out.
Yeah, we got it.
That didn't take long at all. John, let's do my segments. Let's start with Johnny's old jokes. We call it Joke About That. John, I was driving down the road in this joke. Saw a hitchhiker. Being in a generous mood, I decided I'd give him a ride. Picked him up and we started down the road. He was very thankful, but said, "You aren't scared that I could be a serial killer or something?" So I chuckled, looked at him and said, "The chances that we're both serial killers is probably pretty low, don't you think?" It's got a new little comeback for the next time I pick up a hitchhiker.
I like that.
John, a woman wakes up on her birthday and says to her husband, "Honey, I had a dream last night that you gave me a diamond necklace for my birthday. What do you think it means?" Her husband smiles and says, "Maybe tonight you'll find out." Later that night, the couple go out to a nice show, have dinner at their special place. At the end of the meal, the husband takes out a small gift wrap box, hands it to his wife, and says, "Happy birthday, honey." The wife opens the box, and inside is a book titled, "How to Interpret Your Dreams." And they later got divorced. That's the hook of the She Became Bitter. John, finally, an old preacher, renowned scholar, a rich businessman, and a young boy were riding on a small plane. The engine fails, as it does in these kind of jokes. The pilot tells the passengers, "We're going down, but we only have 4 parachutes. One of us will have to stay, but it ain't going to be me." He grabs a parachute and jumps. The scholar gets out of his seat and says, "I'm too smart to die." He also grabs a parachute and jumps. Once the businessman sees this, he says, "I'm too rich to die." He grabs the 3rd parachute and jumps. The preacher looks at the young boy and says, "I've lived a long life, but you're still young." This is you in the story. You would be the preacher. "You're still young. Take the last parachute and live." The boy responds, "Thank you, sir. That's very kind of you, but we can both survive." Confused, the preacher asks, "What do you mean? We only have 1 parachute left." To which the boy responds, "Before the scholar jumped, he grabbed my backpack."
Come on, guys.
Come on now. Won't that? It probably won't. But John's going to use it in his sermon.
I feel more like the scholar.
That feels like John's going to be using that. That's one of those like, "And now turn in your Bibles." Feels like a very pre-sermon.
You know, I was thinking the other day. Yeah, you know, I hardly have any.
You know, I was on a plane the other day and the engine failed. I just did a show in Charlotte area, Gastonia, North Carolina.
Oh.
And I can do a pretty good preacher Billy Graham voice. And so I was saying like, we're talking about, I do a joke about my accent being judged and everything. And I said, "I like your accent here. I could do North Carolina." And I started doing it. And they weren't like, "That's not it." They were all like, "You're nailing it." Everybody after the show was like, "You nailed it."
Well, I want to hear it.
Well, that's what I was doing. Like, "Won't you come? Others are coming." It's very North Carolina.
Yeah. Can you say filling station?
North Kakalaki. Filling station. Why don't they call him that anymore? I miss that. I miss those days.
Well, hey, the governor.
It's been a long time.
South Carolina still does, last I heard. But anyway.
I'm the governor of South Carolina.
The governor.
Come on down to my filling station. John, let's do This Week in History. We call it Talk About Then. John, the first portable cell phone call was this week in you want to guess?
Portable cell phone.
Portable cell phone call. First one.
78.
73.
Ooh, wow.
First portable cell phone call is made. General manager of Motorola's Communication Systems Division calls his rival, which is kind of a, that's something. Because you think about it, it had to be somebody else that had a mobile phone.
But
I guess you could have called the landline.
How do they know? But
he called them at 8. He called them. Maybe he did. Maybe he called them on a landline to be like, "Hey, guess where I'm calling you from? The desert, fool." Look, no wires. Anyway, it was his rival at the AT&T's Bell Labs from the streets of New York City. So he calls him from New York City, and he's like, "You're not going to believe where I'm calling you from." And the phone's big enough. It's like a stool. Right. It's like gigantic.
He's in the back of a van.
Yeah. He's got carpal tunnel from holding it. But yeah, that's the first point. You know what I remember? The thing I remember, what's funny about those big, gigantic cell phones, this is going to date us, but I remember the bag phone was the first one, right? You play into gigantic, and the antenna, huge antenna on your car. But the thing I remember from popular culture was Zach Morris on Saved by the Bell had one. he's talking to his dad. His dad's constantly taking calls. He's like, I got to take this, son. And then finally, his dad's like, you know, at the end of the episode, it's like a come to Jesus, you know, moment where he's like, son, I'm sorry I've been around. It's been super busy, but I'm sorry. I got to take this. And he takes a call, and then it pans back over, and it's Zach on one of those gigantic phones, and he goes, hey, it's your son. It was basically like, the only way I can get your attention is to have one of these gigantic devices, Mayor.
Come on now.
And won't that? And they both wept. And
did they?
No.
Okay.
I remember it was a moment that was like, I'm sorry, son. He drops his phone. In time, he developed a tumor because those old cell phones were really not great
That's
for people.
That's the part they don't tell you.
No, it was a two-parter.
Yeah.
As
that
was
right
the tumor.
After, sit, Ubu, sit.
The tumor was a two-parter, too. John, born this week, the father of modern bodybuilding. Not me. A lot of people think I was
I hear that a lot.
I'm the grandson of modern bodybuilding.
Yeah.
I'm what happens when you stop
That's
for years on end and you start eating cheese duds. His name was Eugene Sandow. He was, it says Friedrich Wilhelm Müller. I don't know why there's two names, but anyway, Eugene Sandow. He was born April of 1867, which is a long time ago. To be the father of modern bodybuilding. He died in 1925. He was a German strongman, which German strongman, you don't want to hear. That's you immediately think Hitler.
In 1867,
you don't want to be known as a German strongman.
Right.
Yeah, come on, get out of here with that. But he organized the first bodybuilding contest in 1901.
Wow.
Sir Arthur, this is the weirdest part of this and why it probably makes the list. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, creator of Sherlock Holmes, was one of the judges.
Huh.
What was he doing there? He's supposed to be one of these literary thinkers. I'm going to go I'm going to write mystery novels. He's like, you know what we should do tonight? Let's go watch these guys flex.
You know, though, remember the one with Robert Downey Jr., the first one?
Sure.
Where he, like, goes into the boxing ring?
Yeah.
And, like, he's trained.
He's seeing 5 moves ahead.
He knows what to do and all. I mean,
maybe that's kind of, so he was into that physical fitness. Maybe that was part of the deal. I always thought that was just kind of, they took literary, agency with the character, but maybe he was more into physical exertion.
Look, Johnny, what we do here on this podcast is we start piecing together the pieces of information.
Right. So, and then we make completely conjecture, like total.
Complete.
We have speculative things that have no real basis in reality. Yeah. And then people call us out on it, and then we don't apologize.
Yeah. Talkaboutspeculation.com.
Absolutely. That domain is probably still available. Yeah. John, this week, 1887, the first U.S. woman was elected mayor. Susanna Salter is elected by Argonia, Kansas, which that seems like an area of the country that would not be that progressive.
Sorry,
in 1887. But here's how it happened, and this is why it makes the list.
Kansanites.
She was nominated. Kansans. Kansans? Can we say Kansanites?
Sorry, they're the Wisconsinites.
She was nominated as a prank, John. She didn't find out she was running until the morning of the election. But it's a happy ending because she was nominated without her knowledge by a group of men who opposed women in politics as an attempt to humiliate her and discourage other women from running for office. She won with 2/3 of the vote.
Oh.
Backfired.
Yep.
She served her 1-year term and then declined to run for re-election. So she's probably harassed this whole year, probably, right?
That was, yeah.
Yeah. But it doesn't say what happened that year, but evidently it was enough that she was like, I'm out. But she ran for a year, though?
I want my wife to run for office.
Okay.
I think she'd have to start like county commissioner or whatever, probably, but
yeah,
she'd be so good.
Yeah, sure. I'd vote. I mean, it's a pay cut. She's doing okay in healthcare right now.
Well,
what do you get for county commissioner?
I don't know if you get anything for county commissioner.
That's what I'm saying. She'd have to it'd be like having 2 jobs.
Yeah.
Plus taking care of you. That's 3 jobs.
Yeah. But I think she's up for it.
You're probably right.
Law driver 2028.
You got to wait that long?
I don't know.
Midterms.
I just skipped to she is county commissioner next year. By then, president.
I just want to say that if elected, I will not serve. Okay. If nominated, I will not run. If elected, I will not serve.
Okay.
Even if it's as a prank.
All right.
I just want to sit back and, just
complain
about all of it. No matter who.
Listen, you got that one down.
Thank you.
If that's what you want to do, you are fulfilling your life's.
How much does that pay?
If you have a podcast, still not much.
John, this week, 1964, the Beatles take the number 1 position on the Billboard list. They also take positions 2 through 5.
Wow.
I don't know if it's ever happened again or since, before or since.
Taylor had all 10 on one of the charts.
No, she did.
She did at one point.
Did she really?
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know if it's Billboard, but she had it on a chart.
Yeah, this was 64, and I even looked up the songs to kind of round out those because it didn't say. I looked them up. Do you want to guess what the songs were in 1964? You're not a huge Beatles guy, but you can probably guess a couple of them.
1964.
Mm-hmm. So this would have been the more...
I Want to Hold Your Hand?
I Want to Hold Your Hand
Is that
was
number
4.
I have it in my head. I'm singing it.
Number 5 was She Loves... Oh, Please Please Me.
Okay.
Want to Hold Your Hand, number 4. She Loves You. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I was singing
number
yeah,
3.
yeah in my head, and I couldn't get to the...
Twist and Shout at number 2.
Okay, Twist and Shout is Beatles?
Yeah.
No.
It's Lennon. What the cool thing about that one is, John Lennon was sick that day.
Okay, hold on.
Shaking a baby now.
I thought that was Chubby Checker.
Nope.
Did he redo... Am I crazy?
Maybe.
They did Twist and Shout?
They did Twist and Shout. The best part about it was... So if you ever remember when we were sick...
No, that's not Chubby... What's Chubby Checker?
Do the twist.
Let's do
everybody.
Guys.
Come on, baby. Let's do the twist.
Somebody was
twist
screaming
and shout.
right then.
So Twist and Shout was the Beatles. But listen, it's not
I
not
heard
a
you
cover.
screaming, listener, from the future.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead now.
But anyway, the most interesting part about that one is, and you can check me, but I'm almost positive I've read more than once that John Lennon was really sick. And so he didn't want to do it. They were just like, just push through. That's why his voice sounds so different in that.
Yeah.
He's literally got a head cold.
That's why I didn't know it was the Beatles.
He's got a head cold. It's John Lennon's. He's not got the John Lennon. He's doing the... It's really raspy.
Yeah.
And it's because he's sick.
They should have made him sick more often.
Yep.
Sorry, go ahead.
They
might have made it.
Number 1, John, this week, 1964.
I mean, again, this seems too early.
Can't Buy Me Love.
That's...
Can you think... That's 5 banger. I mean, no wonder.
Jeez.
That's crazy. The wildest thing about the Beatles, and we don't get into this, isn't a Beatles fanboy podcast, but I have a comedian friend, Sean Reynolds, who's a Beatles lunatic, and he has all this archive stuff. He has all the old records and all this memorabilia. And he told me one time, he goes, the craziest thing is like when they became big to when they stopped making music, when you think about all the music they made, it's only a 7-year period. Isn't that crazy to think about? Like the doo-wah, like girl crazy Beatles era when they're on the Ed Sullivan Show and all that, and that's happening, to the druggy, like weird, Yellow Submarine years. That 7 years, like they made so many different eras of themselves. It's like Taylor, John.
Which is, it is.
That's where we go.
Which is
it all comes back to Taylor Swift
it,
for you and your family, doesn't it, John?
She's written a lot of stuff.
I
Look,
know.
whether you hate her or you love her, listener.
And we're not.
She's done a lot of stuff.
It's true. But anyway, that's the crazy top 5 Billboard. I don't think Taylor's ever had top 10. I think you're wrong about
There's
that.
only one way to find out.
There's no way.
Did Taylor
Swift?
Sorry, I can't type from this angle here. Ever have
just talk amongst yourselves, listeners?
Multiple songs on a single chart.
It's going to be some weird chart though. That's not the Billboard. The Billboard's different.
On a single.
Give me Billboard 100 though. That's the important.
I'll just say Billboard. Let's see. Billboard. I type for a living. All right. Thinking, working. Has not only had multiple songs chart a single Billboard chart, she has absolutely dominated. This is what chat's saying.
Okay.
Not me.
Right.
Actually, my chat model is named Preston, just so you know.
John.
Let's see. Most jaw-dropping examples. October 2022.
Yeah.
She had, with the release of her album Midnights, Taylor Swift became the first artist in history to occupy all 10 spots, top 10 spots on the Billboard Hot 100 simultaneously.
Wow.
I was right.
Okay.
Very, very
So you're saying
right.
that she's better than the Beatles? By your way of thinking.
Those songs would have been Anti-Hero.
You're not naming all 10 songs, John.
Lavender Haze.
We got to go.
Okay, sorry. Isn't that crazy, though?
I think it says more about today's listener because like a record comes out, they're streaming it. That's probably how it happened. Back then, who knows how it happened?
Do you think it'd be more possible back then because you were actually buying records?
I guess. And then you had payola too, which there's still payola today too, as far as like what people spend and what people like. Yeah. It's not exactly a meritocracy, but why can't we be in on the corruption? Why can't,
I'm telling you, Listen,
when do we get to be the thing that's forced down people's throats?
I know money corrupts people.
Yeah.
But how can I ever test that theory?
Yeah, I want to find out for sure if it would change me.
Yeah. Because, look, here's the thing. If we were both getting it,
right,
I would hold you accountable. Mm-hmm. You would hold me accountable.
Thank you.
It would be just like the community group.
We'll be the good billionaires, not the ones that get corrupted by wanting more and more and more and grinding poor people into fuel. We would be the good people.
You can trust us.
Yes.
In fact,
and that's why we'd appreciate your vote. And Laura Driver, 2028.
You know what? I told you I'm watching West Wing again, right?
Yeah, so is Curry. Because of you, because you mentioned it on the show, and then she's watching.
I forgot. They had an episode probably around 2002. I don't know. I forget what season I'm in right now. Mm-hmm. I'm just in the season of bliss. That's all I know, Johnny. But they had a
season of nostalgia.
They had one where they paused the drama to do basically a documentary episode where they intertwined interviews with real. They had, get this, Jimmy Carter was on there, Gerald Ford, Bill Clinton, and at that moment George W was in office, so they didn't have him. But they had then, I think Karl Rove was on there. They had all the chiefs, like a bunch of chiefs of staff and communications people, and then they would interview them and ask them questions, and then they would go to like a clip from the show of the person who's playing their type of role actually doing something, and how like really close actually it was to what they're doing. But it was fascinating. My wife fell asleep during it. I don't want to talk about it. She might have been getting sick. She was not feeling well.
And she wants to be my county commissioner.
I know. And you can't do that. You know what I'm saying? If you want to be... And if anyone ever resurfaces this episode, could you imagine what it would do to her political career?
Her burgeoning political career.
And what's crazy is I'm recording this and I don't have to release it.
No.
But I'm going to.
Yeah. We don't want it because we don't know how to edit.
That's right.
We don't know how to do it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's funny.
I don't know. Well, that was it for history. The Beatles, and you tried to trump the Beatles with Taylor Swift.
I dend try to trump. I just I don't think it's ever happened before. I was like, not only has it, but you're a fool or whatever.
Grief. That's fine. Well, congratulations to Miss Swift. I'm sure she'll be great.
Yeah.
I'm sure she'll make something of herself.
You know who else is making something of themselves? That's Jonnie W. JONNIEW.com is where you can go to find more about him, his comedy, and where you can go watch him live.
There are some new tour dates going up, and then there's some that I have not been allowed to release yet, but they're coming. So that's a little, we call that a tease in radio.
What I'm going to say is, guys, I know what those things are, and you don't, and you're going to be super excited when you find out.
Yeah. Some big news on the old W front. I got a little burgeoning county commission career myself.
Come on now.
I don't want to be the county commissioner. I don't even know what they do, and it sounds awful.
Yeah, I don't think you'd like it.
No. Got to argue about where did they cut this road?
Yeah.
You know, they want to bring a crystal in, but White Castle's upset now. Like, I don't want to decide those things. Why can't we have both?
You actually picked the one scenario that I'd be down for.
Both?
Well, you know what we need is a taste test.
We need
have them both bring us.
Yes.
And we'll talk about who's worthy of the road.
I think I'm more of a White Castle guy.
Really?
They're smushier.
You know that they're the original hamburger.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, the original sold hamburger from like a restaurant.
Yeah.
I'm sure people made hamburgers before that.
Sure. A beef sandwich.
Yeah. But the slider came before the bigger burger. By the way, new season of Food That Built America is out. Yeah. There's one on Doritos.
Not a sponsor.
On Mexican food hitting the mainstream American culture. It's about pace, picante, and salsa. But there was no dipping chips in salsa before that. Did you know that? That's not what the people did. That's not how salsa began in American culture. The one thing that does bug me about it is it's always like, and then Mr. Pace, he tasted it one day at a roadside stand. He had no idea what it was. It was too spicy, and he got into the lab. And it's like almost all of these are just some person that knew nothing about the food and just tried to figure it out so they could mass market it. When I'm thinking, shouldn't it have been like a Latino person that was already selling this?
That's a chemist or something.
Yeah. So... Which that's kind of like us.
Yeah. We don't know what we're doing.
We have no idea. We're just in the lab right now.
We're in the lab making something for you to dip your ears in. It's weird. Thanks for being a part.
No, that's decreasing the spice. And when you do find out how and they use some chemical compound to take the spiciness out of it or whatever, you're like, well, it's It's no wonder we're having so many health issues today.
I saw a thing on TikTok that's terrified me, and it was basically that somebody says that the food companies now are trying to find a way, because the GLP-1s are out in the Ozempics and the things. So many people are on these shots, and it makes you feel less hungry, and it makes you crave salty and sweet snacks less. And so they're trying to put chemicals in the food to counteract those, basically to defeat the GLP-1s.
Wow.
To make them more addictive.
Wow. What about the people who are on GLP-1s? They're just going to go literally hog wild over this.
Why not make a chip that has the GLP-1 in it?
Like, I ate it, but I don't want any more?
Yes.
You
eat one. You can't eat just one. Remember the old can't eat just one Lay's potato chip? It's one. It's just a big bag of air with one chip. There you go. So it's a GLP-1.
And you charge much more money for it, because even though you're not getting as many chips, you're living longer.
Thank you.
You're selling life, Johnny. You're not selling chips. And guys, that's what we're selling here. Technically, we're not selling anything. And to be clear, just so you guys know, when you do all these things, Johnny and John aren't making really anything.
Well, we do it for the love.
It goes back.
We're basically county commissioners.
Yeah. Like, maybe, in fact, I didn't even pay for this screen right here behind us.
No,
if you're watching on YouTube.
Rent-A-Center.
Where could they even see our YouTube videos?
They could go to youtube.com. No, they could go to
maybe you heard of it.
talkaboutthatpodcast.com. Has all the YouTube videos, and you can you can go to our account. Subscribe to our YouTube account, though.
We should start doing that. Like, guys, if you want to hear more, just go to Google. That's GOOGLE.com.
Type in our names.
Yeah.
Do
Interesting.
you ever Google yourself? It's a dangerous game.
I have, because I want to see if it's the other John Driver or not.
Yeah.
But I think I come up on more websites. But to my defense, or his defense, he's a Mennonite.
Oh, you mean the other guy?
South America, yeah.
Yeah, you got the similar name.
So, yeah, I think it...
He's the Bizarro John. He's the mortal enemy.
He's like a missionary. He's doing incredible work, and he's writing on the atonement and stuff, and I'm up here whatever it is that we're doing
here. What are we doing anyway?
Oh, my goodness.
He wishes he were us, though, doesn't he?
I don't think so.
Do you think he hate listens?
No, I think he's like, probably so glad I'm the better John Driver.
He's helping people. All right, cool.
Well, on that note.
Yeah.
Hey, guys, thanks for the time you gave us today. Let's do it again next week here on
Talk About That.